We want to zoom in there.
Yes, Highway 128 south of Heavener. 1 second here.
Chaser video is showing a tornado just southeast of Heavener along Highway 128.
Okay. So this is Highway 128. Okay. So now confirmed tornado on the ground. So that could be it. This actually may be a little bit of a debris ball. It looks like it's lofting. Look, we're getting better evidence that debris is getting lofted into the atmosphere. All right, so this is becoming a much more serious, dangerous situation. All right, we've got a confirmed tornado on the ground. All right, we were pretty sure about that earlier, but wanted a little bit more evidence. We've gotten that evidence. I feel like now we can say with a lot more certainty. Again, Lavaca, Barling, you're not in the tornado warning. There is a storm to the north of this that, is impressive and will have to be watched. The storm coming toward Barling and Lavaca, maybe eventually it becomes more of a concern. Maybe eventually it develops a little bit more spin to it. It's got lightning. It's certainly intensifying. That's a storm we need to watch, and maybe eventually it needs a warning, but it doesn't have one right now, and there is absolutely no reason to believe there's any tornado with it, though maybe starting to circulate a little bit. So we'll need to watch that one. But again, at the moment, it is not something that would warrant the sirens going off. So I don't know what's going on there. But again, here's our circulation. Very clear. Okay, very clear. This is the clearest, that right there is unquestionably the clearest rotation signature we've gotten up to this point. All right, and you zoom in on this area, very rural, but this is coming up right to the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line. Apex, get in your safe spot right now. Hartford, let's get in that safe spot right now. You got a little bit of time. Again, it's not a fast-moving storm, but we want to get into that safe spot. So let's go ahead and do that in those areas. And look, if you live outside of Hartford, maybe you live a little bit south, maybe you live a little bit north, but especially actually if you live maybe a little bit south of Hartford, but this could take a beeline right for the Hartford area. And certainly the Apex area, especially a little south of Apex, this is a very rural area, a mountainous area too, of the Ouachita. So it's not like you're going to walk outside and see it. There might be a mountain in the way or a hill or trees or whatever. So let's just get into that safe spot. If you live in this rural part of Lafleur County, off to the northeast of Heavener. Now, in Heavener, we can see that rotation has now passed off to the northeast of you, okay? So if you're in Heavener, within town, like right there in town, you can come out of your safe spot. If you're just a little bit northeast of Heavener, you're not there yet. There might be a tornado moving through your area right now, and that I don't like that. That's some bad data, it looks like. I don't like that. That's unfortunate. That seems like something's gone wonky. Yeah, something's got a little wonky with the radar. This happens sometimes where the radar gets confused. It thinks the inbound, and this is our inbound wind, it thinks it suddenly becomes outbound, so the red. So what I suspect we're seeing right here is this is all still inbound, right here, intense, and then this right here is in fact outbound. So we still have a significant rotation with it. Let's see if we're getting anything. All right, so I got another update from the chaser there in Lafleur County. He's seeing damage right now. So he is seeing a little bit of damage. And I'm going to ask him to keep the updates coming. Keep the updates coming. And that's going to be pretty helpful. All right. Very impressive storm. Again, very, very impressive storm. You see anything on Facebook Live or on the chat?
Not yet.
Not right now?
Nope.
Okay. This storm is maintaining its intensity. I want to come back to, my goodness, look at the lightning uptick with this storm in Chester. Significant increase in lightning there. And the spin up with it's gone up a little bit too. That's interesting. That is interesting. We're going to have to watch that. That's coming toward the Winslow area. That might be a new, that's the cell we were talking about earlier. A lot of times they don't end up doing much. Well, this may be one of the rare exceptions. The lightning has upticked. Look at the increase in lightning right here. This is in northern Crawford County, just north of Mountainburg, just barely north of, really just right over Chester. That's an area of concern for me. That's tightening up a little bit, it seems like. Let's look up a little bit higher in elevation. Okay. Not seeing that spin continue upwards. So that's a good sign. But we're gonna have to watch that because we see the higher reflectivity. It's a really small cell, but with the higher reflectivity, the increase in lightning, a little bit of an increase in low-level spin. That's something to watch just south. And actually, we're looking, I wonder, that's what it looks like right now, just south of the tunnel. My goodness, look at that. That rain's coming down. People have their hazard blinkers on as they're coming south on I-49. Yeah, that's a really nasty storm right there, too. The winds obviously look pretty strong with it. And you're seeing that lightning kind of light things up every once in a while. We may come back to that. But I want to get back. That's going to be something we'll watch. But I want to get back to the cell coming into South Sebastian County here at the moment. I'm going to walk back over to the green screen here. All right, so as we zoom in here, again, when you see this purple icon, that's a confirmed tornado warning. The reason the edge of it right here is still red is because this edge is Scott County. That's the National Weather Service in Little Rock, their coverage area. And so it takes time for them to kind of coordinate these warnings sometimes. And so it looks a little confusing because of that. That's why it looks that way. But this is a confirmed tornado warning. I want to come back again to, wow, yeah, it's still very, very clear rotation signature here. Very, very clear rotation signature. Yeah, it still looks, do we still have that drop in, yeah, we still have that drop in CC values, and it's right in the vicinity of that rotation. That right there, folks, we think that's probably debris, and there may be a debris ball. That may be a debris ball. I don't know. It's hard to say. It doesn't look 100% like one, but it's a little bit south of where the actual rotation is, so that may not be the case. But and it is pretty far away from the radar, so being able to see a debris ball this far away from the radar is maybe a little bit unrealistic. But it definitely is throwing up at least some debris, it looks like, in that area. So again, is it still moving at 35? Can you check on that, William? Sometimes these storms, they go up and down and speed up, slow down, all this stuff.
Hartford is seeing reports of circulation as well with the storm.
Yeah, it's coming up on Hartford. Hartford, again, Patterson, Apex in our safe spot right now. It's right on the state line, so it's coming into Arkansas as we speak, exiting Oklahoma. Folks out here in Heavener, as we were saying earlier, Forester, Sugar Creek, that the threat's off to the northeast of us now. We can come out of our safe spot. If you're right on the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line, basically where LaFleur County and the very southern tip of Sebastian County meet, this mountainous rural area, we more than likely have a tornado on the ground. Now, it may be kind of, it may be on the ground for a time, then lifts a little bit, and then comes back down. It may be intermittent, but we probably have a tornado on the ground right now. The dip in correlation coefficient values, which basically what this is, folks, is the radar, when you see this dip, the darker colors, the radar is basically seeing a lot more in the atmosphere of all different sizes and shapes of different things in the atmosphere. And a lot of times that's one of two things. Either it's seeing a mountainous area, it's seeing hail, or it's seeing a tornado debris. In this case, we think it may be tornado debris, at least some of it may be in there, and some of it may be a little bit of hail. But we do think this thing's got a tornado probably on the ground. What was it, the movement again, William?
About 30 miles per hour.
Oh, so it's dropped about 5 miles. Okay. So that's the thing. These things, they go up and down, the speed of them. Let me draw another track map here for everybody. Just ahead of it at 30 miles per hour, coming right into Hartford here, right in the Hartford area. Hartford, yeah, that's pretty close to what we were saying earlier. 8:31, you've got very little time, 5 minutes. Let's get into that safe spot right now. See if we can add on some additional towns. All right, so yeah, quite a few. Peterson, 8:30. Frogtown, 8:35. Again, the Prairie Creek we're referring to is not the one in Benton County, the one in southern Sebastian County. Arcola, Fox Hill, Liberty, Mansfield, all kind of in the path of this. Mansfield, kind of the next big town after Hartford. The Mansfield-Huntington area right there. Anyway, they're at about 8:46. Witcherville would be the kind of next. Witcherville is maybe a little bit north of where this thing may go. But one thing is for sure, again, the sirens we were hearing in Barley and Lavaca, that was some sort of mistake. Something happened because they are in zero threat of a tornado at the moment. So if you're hearing that, just rest assured you're okay. Now, there is that storm we're still watching to the north of the one that has the tornado warning that could, over time, maybe strengthen and become tornadic. Okay, so while the sirens earlier were a mistake, if they have to run them again, that may be legit. Okay, so we'll see what happens. But looking at this storm north of the one that's got the tornado warning from our Fort Smith radar, it's a little bit too close to the radar. It's kind of hard to pick out much definition. If you use the radar in Tulsa, you get a better picture of the broader perspective of the storm over South Fort Smith. And it has intensified, and they may need a warning. We may have to run those sirens again. What was that, William?
Do we have Mike out for storm spotting?
Mike, who?
No, we don't.
Okay. No, we don't have, we don't, our chaser, no, we don't have anybody. We've got one chaser actually there right now on the storm in southern LaFleur County. And he's seeing some flooding at the moment. So he won't be able to stay with it. The terrain's just too much, and it's hard to get to that. Keep with that storm as it comes through southern Sebastian County, which I totally understand that. But he might get some pictures, video of what he is seeing. He is seeing a little bit of flooding in that area. But again, this one around Barling, Lavac, coming toward Barling on the south side of Fort Smith, Crescent, it's going to move through north of Greenwood. It's definitely going to be something we're going to want to watch. That is for sure, because it does have a little bit of circulation with it, and over time, maybe that becomes more of a concern. Maybe it's not until it gets closer to Ozark, or we'll see. But that one is trying, on the very south side of Fort Smith, it's trying to strengthen, so we'll see what happens with it. But let's come back to our primary concern at the moment. It is a tornado on the ground, and it looks like that tornado right now is just south of Hartford on the ground doing damage as we speak, and we can see it lofting debris into the air, okay? That's more than likely what this right here is, because it's right next to where the circulation is, and it's getting carried off to the northeast by the winds aloft. Okay, that's what we're seeing right here, I think. And you go back in time a little bit, and we can see how that's kind of evolved over time. The debris right here, and then over time, that debris gets lofted farther up in the atmosphere, and more than likely, that's why you're seeing it elongated. Is what it's a good guess. Now, is that really exactly how it's playing out? Hard to say, but I think that's a good guess. But very clear circulation here, and keep me updated, William, if you see anything new. This storm is maintaining its intensity. That has just gone nowhere. Okay, that has gone. I'm going to come back over to the wall.
And it looks like once it gets past this ridgeline, there will be better environmental conditions ahead of it.
Yeah, is that what they're saying in the national? Okay, that makes sense. Look, again, folks, this is a dangerous situation. Now in South Sebastian County, it's south of Fort Smith, doesn't include Fort Smith. Fort Smith's got its own problems right now. We're seeing storms move through there right now. In fact, we can take a look from our camera in Fort Smith. That rain's certainly coming on down pretty good. But no warning, a little bit of lightning. We're seeing the lightning uptick a little bit. So again, we're going to watch that storm over Fort Smith, but this is our area of real concern, okay? And that is a clear tornado on the ground to me. We've gotten reports already. We've got gate to gate. And what I mean by gate to gate is you can see, let me clear off what we had earlier, is you can see the brighter green pixels right here, right up against the red pixels. And what that means is the wind with the red pixels, that's where the wind's moving away from the radar, the green toward the radar. When they're right up next to each other, that is not every time. I mean, there are very rare circumstances we've seen where there's not actually a tornado on the ground, but it is very rare. And we've already gotten confirmation of a tornado on the ground. And again, you come back over here to our correlation coefficient, and we're seeing that dip in values right here, and it kind of lofts some of that debris up into Hartford. So that circulation, if we're lucky anyway in Hartford, it might go just to the south of us. Let's put this back in motion. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that looks like it's going to either come into Hartford or just go through just barely south of Hartford and just barely to the east of Hartford. We need to be in our safe spot in Hartford right now. This is a life-threatening deal. This is an intense storm and definitely a tornado that's already done damage. You look right along Highway 96, by the way. This is going to cross Highway 96, close to Hartford, but maybe just a little bit to the east of Hartford. It's going to get really close to Mansfield eventually. May come closer to Huntington, but maybe just kind of right there in between those two towns that are so close to one another. I mean, this is definitely a very clear signature in our safe spot right now, Hartford, and then to the northeast of Hartford too. I would, even though this is a little bit farther away for us in Huntington and Mansfield. I mean, it's only moving 30 miles per hour, but it's a little bit farther away. But I'd say, you know what? Pretty good idea to just go ahead and get into that safe spot now.
I mean, storm spotters are still confirming an observed tornado.
Still confirming a tornado?
Yep.
Okay. So spotters in the area, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. This thing looks like it's still producing a tornado. With any luck, maybe with time, we'll be able to see that go away. But it may have lost a little bit of organization, which is surprising if the environment really is a little bit better. But look at the uptick in lightning.
Yep.
Look at the uptick in lightning. I think sometimes these storms get so close to radar, they kind of look like they're losing organization. But what's really happening is you're actually seeing the storm in a clearer view than you normally get to see it. And these storms are messy in reality. They're not perfect, looking supercells. Some of them can be, but a lot of times they're not. And again, this one north of it in Fort Smith does bear watching. It really has intensified. There's a lot of lightning there. Now, we're still watching this other cell, too, that's now into southeast Washington County. It's still got a little circulation with it. It's a little bit of lightning with it. It's still not, I don't know, it may never pose a super serious tornado risk, but it may. It's trying to organize. It still is. I mean, it really is doing everything it can to organize. So that'll be one that we'll have to keep watching too. No warning on it, but I guarantee you there's some hail with it in that very rural part of where Washington, Crawford County, just to the east of the tunnel where they meet. So, and that's going to come into Madison County. Could be an issue for areas around Huntsville or perhaps just south of Huntsville, though there are storms north of it that'll certainly bring rain to Huntsville, and they already just saw some rain. They'll get some more. The
tornado warning storm is taking a slightly more northern track with it. It just shifted a little more to the north. Yeah, it seemed. Yeah, I can see that. Not much, just but a little. Yeah, just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. Still traveling about 26 miles per hour. Okay. Well, it is nice to see that the circulation is not as impressive now. I see this kind of circulation. It's not quite at the level it was a few radar scans ago. That's good to see. But in Hartford, let's stay in our safe spot. Now, in Trestle Ford, Coaldale, Sugar Creek, Apex. All right, that threat is now passed off to your east. You can come out of your safe spot there too. But Hartford, Patterson, we need to be in our safe spot still right now. Again, this thing's not moving super fast. So we still have some time in Mansfield and Huntington, but, not a lot. Not a lot. Get any reports on Facebook? You seen anything? Not yet. Yeah, I know you've been looking at it. You've been watching it carefully. All right. Well, again, folks, if you're just now joining us, we'll reset here real quick and zoom out a little bit. We've got a lot of thunderstorm activity across the region. We've got one warning right now in the viewing area, and that is south of Fort Smith. I do want to bring up one more time, if you heard the sirens going off around Barling and Lavaca earlier, if you're just now joining us, maybe you didn't hear us talking about this. Again, that something went wrong there. We are watching a storm that's over your head right now that may warrant those sirens actually getting issued at some point, but we're not at that point. We don't have a tornado warning for Barling or Lavaca at the moment. But well to the south of Lavaca, and this tornado is not going to go through Lavaca. There's no chance of that with this storm in far south Sebastian County. But the one to the north of it may pose more of a risk there for both Barling and Lavaca. I mean, it really does have the shape of a storm. It really does, and the lightning has upticked quite a bit. I'm almost a little surprised they haven't issued a new warning on that one. I don't know if it's warranted really, but it's certainly organizing. It's trying. It is not as intense. It's not got anywhere near the same potential as the one to the south of it. But that is one we'll have to watch as it comes toward Alma and Mulberry, and maybe eventually near the Ozark area, maybe a little bit west of it. All right, but let's go back to our Fort Smith radar. You can see it moving off to the north and east. So this is interesting. We're not seeing as much debris. We were seeing a lot of debris earlier in the vicinity of that rotation. does not look like we're seeing as much. So maybe we're in a situation where, the tornado has kind of lifted again and it's not on the ground, maybe. Hard to say without, again, having a direct look at that storm. But certainly still a pretty impressive storm and still plenty of circulation with it. Looking up farther up in elevation, we can see it's definitely still got that spin up aloft. That the mesocyclone with it certainly looked more impressive earlier than it does now. So farther up within the storm, that overall rotation, that organization, again, we can see it with base reflectivity. We can see it when we look up higher, tilt the radar up a little bit and look up higher in the storm, that maybe it's not spinning as efficiently as it once was, but still pretty impressive storm and still a concern. But I like where we're at. We've seen this storm lose a bit of that intensity.
Lightning strikes are going down too.
Are they?
Yep.
Is that what the National Weather Service is knowing, or is that something you're just kind of seeing?
I'm watching it.
Oh, just what you're saying. Okay, yeah. I agree. I think yeah. That's, so those are positive signs, but, and we are watching other cells for sure. Lightning has really come up a lot with that cell to the north of it. I mean, it really has. Take a live look from our camera in Fort Smith, and the camera's bumping around a little bit. Plenty of rain out there, plenty of lightning. I don't know. That's going to be one we got to keep an eye on, too. Anyway, let's go back to radar here. We'll go back to our Fort Smith radar. Real quick though, and Tulsa radar seeing a little bit of an uptick in circulation maybe with that northern cell. We'll keep looking at it. We'll keep watching it. It's going to go right over Barling, Lacka area. So we'll keep an eye on it. Certainly no clear circulation from the radar in Fort Smith on it, but all right. And we've seen a little bit of decrease in organization. Still kind of seeing that, which is nice. And again, unfortunately, we don't have cameras in this area. We don't, south, so we can't get it direct. You see anything new, William?
No.
No, okay. But if you're just now joining us, you got a tornado warning. Was a confirmed tornado on the ground. Do we still have one on the ground? Hard to say exactly, but we definitely had one earlier that did damage. We just have to hope that the area where that tornado went through, folks were heeding the warnings, getting into their safe spot. Very obvious tornado on the ground for a little bit there, clearly lofting debris into the atmosphere. Clear concern. Well, things aren't as clear now, but we still want to be taking this situation seriously, and again, not losing sight of the fact that things could take a turn back for the worse again very quickly. I would say this: it looks like in Hartford we're just about at the point where we can come out of our safe spot. Not there yet, but here in about 5 minutes, I think you'll be ready to go. Huntington, Mansfield area. Let's get into that safe spot right now. Let's not waste any more time. There's no reason to. Again, if it becomes clear that this thing's totally lost all of its tornado potential at some point, then we'll certainly let you know that. It's not really there at the moment, even though it looks way less organized. William, can you just let maybe shoot a message to the National Weather Service, see if they're also seeing this weakening that we're seeing right now. You can let them know. That's kind of what I'm seeing, and I don't know if that's what they're seeing too. I'd like to kind of get their thoughts on it. Anyway, And not as much lightning, really. We're not, and the reason we bring up lightning is, a lot of the times when you see a quick uptick in lightning, that's a good indication that the storm's strengthening. We talk about it every once in a while. Folks who've watched our coverage quite a bit in the past probably already know this, but that's why we kind of bring it up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lightning strikes right now, 6. It looks like, and that's not as many as we had earlier. We had closer to probably 10 or 12 earlier, which still isn't a ton. Sometimes you get these storms and you get hundreds of lightning strikes, and that doesn't necessarily mean a tornado's on the ground, but it definitely means that it's a pretty intense thunderstorm and you've got strong updraft. But this one, just not as many as before. Maybe a new one right there. Let's go back again to our base velocity data, and once again, it's not what it was. And let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, once again, we go back in time and we can really see how things have changed. And we'll go back, let's see here. So you take a look here. Earlier, go back pretty far here, pretty clear rotation signature, and we think it may have already produced a tornado at this point.
The National Weather Service just issued another tornado warning
Okay.
for southern Sebastian County.
Okay. All right, we'll get to that here in a second. But then as we went through time, really clear, right? Very obvious tornado signature right there. Gate-to-gate shear we were talking about earlier. Okay, and as we continued through time, looked really impressive right here. Okay, and now over the last, this is since 8:30, so the last 15 minutes, look what's happened. All right, wow, totally lost that organization, hasn't it? But they've issued a new tornado warning, and this makes sense. It's no longer a confirmed tornado. So they issued the new tornado warning, but I agree, this is the right call. Issue a new tornado warning, it's still got the circulation, another tornado could drop, but it's no longer clear at all that a tornado is on the ground. This makes a lot of sense. And National Weather Service in Little Rock has it as a severe thunderstorm warning. There may be some trouble coordinating right now. I'm not sure why that happened, but that just happens sometimes. Technology is probably a big part of that, and technology sometimes just does not work the way you want it to. It doesn't around here, I can tell you. But anyway, still has circulation. That circulation may kind of kick back up again. This storm could strengthen. It's still got a lot of intensity. It still has more than enough potential to drop another tornado. And again, in Mansfield and Huntington, despite the fact that it's not a confirmed tornado right now, let's stay in our safe spot. That bottom floor, interior room, as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Maybe you're lucky you've got a storm cellar, storm shelter, basement. A lot of folks don't have that, and this thing could produce another tornado at any second. So let's take this seriously here. We've got the help of the National Weather Service in Tulsa. We're talking about some of the best meteorologists in the world as far as I'm concerned. So, these folks really know what they're doing, and we gotta take this seriously. It could produce another tornado at any moment. Right over Huntington, Mansfield. Now, I will say this. Hartford, we're in the clear. All right. Prairie Creek, Frogtown, Hartford, Patterson. We're in the clear of the tornado threat now. In Prairie Creek, Frogtown, Hartford, Peterson, the threat has passed off to the east. Mansfield, Huntington, Liberty, I hadn't mentioned Liberty, but Liberty 2 over to Abbott, Crossroads, Echo, these areas, and it's straddling southern Sebastian County, far northern Scott County, and far western Logan County. And so I'm not going to use county names very much here because that's not going to give you a full picture of where the tornado threat is. It's not going to give you any picture, really. I'm just going to use town names. I'm going to use town names and paired with highways as well. Again, this is moving right along Highway 96 between Hartford and Mansfield. So a new tornado could form even south of that, more toward Liberty. at some point. So these are the areas we need to be in our safe spot. We might get a new circulation. It looks like we've got one trying to develop here right between Mansfield and Liberty. So in our safe spot right now, a new tornado could form at any time. It may have already formed. A new one may have already formed. We just don't know just yet. Have you seen anything new, social media, on the Facebook Live or the, is there anybody in that area?
Just more sirens going off, but outside the warned area.
Wait, where?
It was
Again,
Hackett.
Hackett. Well, now Hackett that's a lot closer.
Barling's multiple reports of Barling going off again just 1 minute ago.
Okay, well,
So I'm not quite sure.
Hackett, they shouldn't have been going off in. Barling and Lavaca too. I don't know. There's something funky going on there. Again, technology, right? It can happen to all of us. It gets confusing because the storm to the north of this we've been talking about may eventually strengthen to the point where it does become a concern. Now,
Sirens now in Pensacola.
yeah, that one to the north of it, coming through Barling, Lavaca right now, that one is worrisome. That one's got potential. Did they get back with anything on when you asked that question about
No.
early? They didn't. Okay. We've got some circulation with that storm to the north of it, but we do not have a warning on it yet. So I'm not sure what's going on again, but that's frustrating. I know. But again, let's stay in that safe spot. Mansfield, Abbott, Liberty, Booth, Lucas, Echo, Barber. This is on the way to you. It's right over the top of Mansfield, Liberty, Huntington area, coming into Abbott as we speak. Abbott, we need to be in our safe spot. Echo, Lucas, Booth. Let's get there now as well. Even in the Crossroads area, even though the Crossroads area is a little bit north of where the primary circulation is, and I'm going to keep mentioning this because it sounds like it may still be happening. I don't know. But if it is still happening where those sirens are going off closer to Barling, Lavaca, Hackett, Fort Smith, if that is still happening, then just ignore it for now. What you do want to do is be in your house because that is an intense storm. I mean, isn't it? I mean, if you're in these areas around Fort Smith, as this came through Fort Smith and as this has come through Van Buren and as it's coming through Barling right now, it's pretty intense. And that is a pretty impressive looking storm on radar, even though it doesn't have a warning. But it does not have a warning, and it does not have a tornado with it at the moment. It could at some point. We'll see. We'll have to watch it. But either way, the siren should not be going off there. All right. So again, I got to repeat that every once in a while. Hopefully that stops or has already stopped. But who knows? All right. And we're seeing some circulation aloft with that cell.
National Weather Service is tracking that circulation over Barling and
It is?
Fort-
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's an impressive cell, Not quite at the level of the one south of it, but it really is going to be something they'll just have to keep an eye on, I guess. All right, so, but my goodness, look at the finger right here. We call this a finger because it obviously looks like a finger. But anyway, sometimes you get, tornadoes spin up right there at the edge, somewhere in between Mansfield and Liberty. That's where that circulation is. We go back to our circulation and get a little bit messy right there. But we do still have clear circulation. And coming into Abbott, again, Mansfield, Liberty, Huntington, let's stay in that interior room, first level, ride this thing out, and then we'll be able to come out of our safe spot here before too long. But just want to play this thing safe. Looking at it from multiple locations there. When you zoom in right here, we do see this dip in CC values. I don't know if that is a tornado. I don't know. It is right in the vicinity of the rotation, but gosh, it may have a tornado on the ground right now. Again, without having cameras, eyes in the field, being able to see it physically, it's just, I don't know. And we won't be able to see much with our camera in Fort Smith, but I am going to pan our camera in Fort Smith. Now the National Weather Service is paying a close, looking at it too, and kind of eyeballing it, seeing what's going to happen with it. But that's kind of looking toward the east-southeast. Obviously a little bit hard to see much, lightning, I guess, but if I pan up, maybe we can get it to, the little raindrops on the camera lens are making it somewhat unfocused, unfortunately, I think is what's going on. Can't see much there. And we did run. Yeah. Nope. Couldn't see much there. All right. All right. So if you're just now joining us, we do have a one tornado warning. Still a potentially dangerous situation. Was very dangerous earlier with a tornado on the ground doing damage in LeFlore County and southern Sebastian County, well south of Fort Smith, Barling, Lavaca, Hackett as well. No threat to those areas this storm. The storm that is a little bit of a threat still now coming up on Lavaca. And eventually, Mulberry, going to work its way right along the Arkansas River, it looks like. This northern cell, and it's starting to try to organize. It really is. It is trying to organize. This one over Crawford County. We'll see what happens with it. But I think that one may have a chance to be our next tornado warning. I don't know. Stop the map right there. I'll go step back over in front of the green screen. Anything new from your end, William?
No, National Weather Service is echoing that the tornado potential is not over yet in the Huntingtown area.
Right.
So,
I wish the National Weather Service in Little Rock could get this right, because folks, the problem is if you're in, West Logan County or Northern Scott County, you're getting a severe thunderstorm warning, and you should have a tornado warning. So that's unfortunate. I don't know if there's disagreement. I don't know if it's a technology thing between the two offices, but that's obviously a problem. So hopefully they get that. The last time when we saw this happen earlier, the National Weather Service in Little Rock was able to fix the problem, and oh, there it is. Now they're fixing it. Okay. All right. Just as we talk about it, they fix it. So now they've actually got the tornado warning box there. I don't know why that keeps happening for them, but hopefully they're trying to figure that out. But anyway, Abbott, this is coming right up on top of you. Mansfield, Huntington, Liberty area, right over the top of you still. Let's come back over to radar data here and look at the winds within this storm. Oh, well, look at that. Maybe a little bit of tightening of the circulation. Let's turn off. Warning data. Maybe a little bit of a tightening. Hard to tell exactly. But it may be trying to spin back up a new tornado if it hasn't already. Hard to say, but it may be trying to do that right now. It looks
that's
like
what the National Weather Service has just said as well.
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
It looks like rotation's increasing just at the end of that hook.
Yeah, that is what it looks like. Okay. Hey, Abbott, again, we're seeing the same thing the National Weather Service is saying, but we're seeing this little bit of an uptick in circulation, a little bit of an uptick in tornado potential. Let's get in that safe spot right now. Huntington, Mansfield, Liberty, we're almost out of the woods. Just about. So let's just give it another couple minutes and then we can come out of our safe spot. That's something we want to continue to do for everybody who's in the path of this storm. Let you know when you need to get in your safe spot, when you can get out too. So we're on both ends of it. We want to make sure we're covering that. Hail probability, I'm sure, has come up a little bit at times, not right now. Let's put it in motion, see if we've seen any bits and pieces. No, not really. So we'll come back to radar. Stop the map. But you can see it is moving off to the north and east. We'll do a new storm track on this. And this new tornado warning goes, turn this off right here. This new tornado warning goes till 9:30. And make sure that they're the same right there. They're not. Okay. Well, 9:15, 9:30. So anyway, let's do a storm track on that. How fast is it moving now, William? Can you give me the?
Yes, it was 29 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour when I last checked about a minute ago.
That's what they were calling it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's our circulation. Right between, just moving past Mansfield now, barely into Scott County, so far northern Scott County, right along Highway 71, in Abbott as we speak. Maybe a new tornado forming right now if it hasn't already formed, in the safe spot. But that's the area we're worried about. Okay, that's our area of spin. So from that area at about 30 miles per hour, and we can kind of put this in motion again, gives us a better idea of the movement of it. All right, so we know it's moving about 30 miles per hour. Let's do that storm track on it. From just ahead of it, woo, try that again. There we go. Right about there. Pretty rural area. Let's see if we can add in a few more towns. So Echo 906, Barber 916, Washburn, which may be a little bit north of where this goes, unless it takes a much more northerly track, which I don't see that happening. But you know, 916 area as well. Carolyn at 923. Carolyn may be a little closer. Barber's definitely going to be the closest. I think Barber over to Glendale, Echo included. Echo, Barber, Glendale. That's in Abbott right now. It's kind of following that direct line. Glendale at 923. So that gives you an idea of how much time you've got. Abbott, you've got none. It's right on top of you. Now, there's another area of circulation we've got to watch. And so I'm going to get rid of this. And we're going to zoom in. So the area of circulation I was just talking about, this one right here, we've got gate-to-gate wind shear. That may be a tornado on the ground right now. We've got another area of circulation, though, it looks like just to the north of it. And so two areas of circulation, the one here at the very end of the finger right there, well, that may be the one that certainly has the greatest potential of actually having a tornado on the ground. I think in theory it should. In theory, it does. And that's coming right into Abbott and then moving toward Echo shortly after that. And then Barber and then Glendale, right? So it's moving along that line, though. May end up being a little bit west of Glendale by the time it's all said and done. All right, let's come back to the other storm farther north, looking a little less organized now compared to earlier. But you know, bears watching, maybe posing more of a straight line wind risk now. So maybe those winds really picking up, you know, around Dyer right now and coming into Mulberry and around Kibler. Those winds may be picking up. And still no warning on it. Still no warning. And have you seen anything recently about those sirens? Has anybody reported that again recently? Hopefully
No, I haven't seen any.
Has anybody said they turned off? Did anyone? Hopefully those have turned off.
by now.
Yeah, no additional reports
No
of
additional
sirens.
reports on that. Okay, well, hopefully they turned off by now. All right. And in northwest Arkansas, again, just some scattered showers and occasional rumble of thunder. It looks to me like the severe threat over NWA is over with for the night. They did issue a tornado warning up toward southwest Missouri. A little bit surprising there, but I would venture to guess our threat over northwest Arkansas is pretty much over. Southern Madison County, if the storm near Mulberry can kind of get closer to that southeast part of Madison County, maybe that part over to Newton, but not Washington or Benton, and most of Madison, probably not much either. These storms coming, the storm we were a little bit worried about that moved over, Chester and just north of Mountainburg, that one's completely gone by the wayside, so it's not anywhere nearly as intense as it was. And I like that the one coming into Mulberry doesn't look as organized right now, but it may still pose a damaging wind risk at some point. There's no warning on it. So let's get back to our tornado warned storm, the storm that we know has been producing a tornado, and at last check seemed to be maybe that circulation was tightening a little bit, though not seeing the same thing now. That's good. So we go back in time here, we were seeing circulation here around Mansfield and Liberty right around there, starting to come up, right around there. And now that's kind of gone away again. So that's good. That's good. It was just a very slight uptick in circulation. It wasn't significant, but super significant. It was significant in the sense that it was important to observe and take note of, but it wasn't significant in the sense that it was a particularly strong uptick, big uptick in circulation. But still an impressive looking storm on radar. Oh, did they? No, they didn't. Never mind. All right, so still an impressive looking storm on radar. And it looks like the only tornado warning in Arkansas right now, and probably the only legit, this storm up in Springfield, they issued a new warning on. So that may be a concern up there. Yeah, it's got a little bit of circulation with it. But anyway, coming back to this storm, it has lost a bit of, it's starting to lose intensity. I'm looking at the vertically integrated liquid, again, important little tool that we like to make use of just to kind of get a general idea of whether the storm's kind of gaining a little bit of intensity or losing a little bit. It doesn't tell you everything, but I'm seeing that losing some, so that would be nice. Now, it could just be part of a cycle, and we see that sometimes with these storms. Or it could be legitimately just losing some intensity. We saw that little uptick in spin, and now we're seeing a decrease, and we're seeing a decrease in the Ville values. The storm itself has gotten maybe a little bit smaller than it once was. I mean, look at the size of this thing when it was over Lafleur County, the size and the shape, the organization of it. Very, very impressive. Produced at least one, maybe two tornadoes, we think, in Lafleur County. So an exceptional looking storm. The size of it, you'd kind of right in through here, fairly big cell, right? Well, an hour later, not really the same deal, is it? Quite a bit smaller, right? You take the warning data off there, you take the radar data off, and you can see the difference in size over time. And that does certainly matter in this case, because if we're seeing things begin to shrink down, that it doesn't have the same intensity that it once did. The upward motion within the storm is impressive. That's a good indication of that. It's probably getting into an environment that just isn't
favorable. So that's a good sign, but it's not something we can say, oh, okay, well, we're done coverage. We're done with, the risk. We're not at that point, but we may be at that point soon. That would be nice. In the meantime, we do still have the tornado warning issued from the National Weather Service in Tulsa going until 9:15. The one in Little Rock, I'm sure this was not intentional, goes through 9:30. Maybe it is intentional because, it does extend a little bit farther east. So maybe that is intentional. So till 9:30 in essence. So for another 22 minutes, and I could see how that may be intentional, but you don't usually have the tornado warning that has two different times either. So it's a little bit confusing. But anyway, still an impressive looking cell. Still an impressive cell. So let's again, continue to stay in that safe spot. Now, Huntington, Mansfield, Liberty, we can get out of our safe spot. We're good to go. Abbott, we can get out of our safe spot. We're good to go. We need to stay in our safe spot in Echo and in Crossroads. This thing's basically working its way right along the Sebastian. Here's the Sebastian-Scott County line. And then at Echo, it becomes the Sebastian-Logan County line right here. And so it's kind of following along this path. May go a little bit north of Barber, a little bit north of Glendale, maybe a little closer to Washburn. So Washburn, I'm feeling a little bit more like you're more on the path of this thing now. So with time, we may need to get into our safe spot in Washburn too. Milltown, I think it's a good idea to get into our safe spot right now. Echo, let's stay in our safe spot. Crossroads, especially if you're just a little bit east of Crossroads, close to the Logan County line, Logan-Sebastian County line. Let's get in that safe spot there as well. Here, look, if this thing continues to show signs of weakening, then maybe they can, maybe they won't have to issue another tornado warning further down the road. But we'll see. It's definitely not the same storm it once was. There's no question about that. It is a very different storm now, but still potentially dangerous. Still potentially dangerous. There's a storm coming in right behind this one too. It's around Monroe right now. And I'll go ahead and step back over at the green screen. All right. So here's the cell behind it right here. And William, have you seen anything new from the National Weather Service or Facebook Live?
No, they agree that the storm right just northwest of Echo, extreme southeast Sebastian County is also weakening
Good.
From what they're seeing as well.
That's good to hear. All right. It's good to be in that agreement. All right. So the one behind it is kind of ticked up a little bit. So around Monroe, it looks like we probably got a little bit of hail beginning to fall right there, more than likely. It's 96 in Arkansas. It looks like it's 83 in Oklahoma. But right there along the same path the last storm went through, in this area around Apex, Hartford, we had a tornado on the ground earlier, and now we've got another storm coming in right behind it. So that is just painful. That is, one storm moves through, next one comes in right behind it, and that one's strengthening, which is a little bit of a surprise, given the fact that it's moving over an area that just got worked over pretty good. A lot of times you don't see that. But, yeah, there comes the next storm. So not a Warren storm, but probably one that I would imagine has a bit of hail potential, wind potential, and it is also showing a little bit of spin with it, which is interesting. Let's put that in motion. Yeah, it's got a little bit of rotation with it as well. All right. There you go. So that'll be something we'll have to watch right around Monroe. But let's go back to our other cell that still has the tornado warning on it for another 18 minutes. And again, as we kind of take a look at all this, still kind of nowhere near the organization it once had. Yeah, we can take a look at it from Tulsa too. It's going to look much farther up in the storm. Nah, can't see anything. All right. But still, still supercell. Still cell that over Milltown right now is probably producing a little bit of hail and could be producing some damaging winds within that storm, around Milltown, Washburn. Let's be in our safe spot in Milltown. Crossroads, we're out of that threat again. We were talking about Abbott earlier, out of the threat. Of course, we mentioned Huntington, Mansfield, Liberty earlier. They're out of the threat. Those are areas where you can come out of your storm shelter. Area where you don't just yet is Washburn. Let's get in that safe spot right now. Barber, this may end up, you put this in motion here, and it looks like it's going to stay north of Barber. So Barber and Glendale, you're in the tornado warning, but it looks like it's going to stay just to your north. And so, maybe it's taking a little bit more of a northerly track. This is coming right into Washburn. So look at that. Wouldn't you know it? Washburn actually right in the direct path of the spin up with this storm. So let's get in that safe spot right now in Washburn too. Again, not clear, significant rotation, but it's still spinning, and it may produce another tornado. It could be brief, it could be small, but any tornado is going to do some damage and could become a big problem for the person whose house is hit by it. So let's stay in that safe spot in Washburn, Milltown, that we still have circulation. And it looks like they issued a new tornado warning. Is that right?
Yes. They're just extending the tornado
So this
warning.
this one will go till 9:30. It'll pair a little bit better with the one that was issued by Little Rock.
Yeah, still moving northeast. And they're also noting that there is a trend in the strength of the storm that's lessening, but the cell structure is pretty good still.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
So they're just gonna give it a little more time.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So Washburn again, in our safe spot right now with this storm, and this is what we're talking about. It's a smaller storm. It's not the same storm it was earlier, but it still has structure to it. It still has some of that structure to it, but it just keeps. It feels like it's just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking here. Looking back off to the west, the cell over Monroe, it's got a few more light. And here's the other thing. Now you look at the cell over Washburn. Do you see any lightning? No lightning. So it's shrinking, it's weakening. This is a good sign, but we're not in the clear yet. Even a cell that's shrank a little bit, weakened a little bit, it can still produce a tornado real quick. I mean, it could. So. Especially one like this one that's been around for so long. It's been spinning for so long. That momentum, angular momentum, does not just go away immediately. So we'll just have to maintain a close eye. All right, coming back over to the cell around Monroe. Still not seeing any reason to believe it's got a tornado or anything, but. It definitely is still pretty intense. It's going to work over an area that's got worked over pretty good and even saw a tornado. And that cell, the Ville with it, that the amount of moisture inside that one as it comes into Sebastian County has gone up considerably. So bizarrely enough, that's going to be one to watch too. We've seen the lightning pick up quite a bit. Between Mulberry and, around Lake Fort Smith, north of Mountainsburg. So that's one as it comes into Franklin County. And then I think, looks like a straight line wind concern more than anything. Though we're not seeing significant intensity or increase in intensity anyway. With the winds with it, with the straight line winds. So that's good to see. Coming back to the cell around Washburn again, still just kind of Still, again, still an impressive looking cell. And sometimes these storms, they do cycle. So, it kind of gradually weakens, and then it enters into maybe a more favorable environment all of a sudden. And there is a little bit of that in Logan County, I suspect. Let me take a look at something real quick. Yeah, I mean, temperatures are just a little bit warmer. Boonville temperature is close to 70, whereas, Fort Smith temperatures mid-60s. Ozark, mid-60s. So, there's a little bit more of warm air to work with, not a lot, but a little bit more over Logan County. So that may aid in some fuel for this storm. Let's see, we got about another 11 minutes.
Certainly good dew point temperatures in
Really?
Boonville, upper 60s.
Upper 60s, hadn't looked at that. Yeah, they got 67 dew point, whereas it's a little lower, farther north of that. So yeah, there's a little bit more fuel there. So, hey, maybe it starts to kick back up again, strengthen back up again. There's a lightning strike out of it. They've not opted to issue a new tornado warning ahead of it. We've got this current warning for another 10 minutes. And look at that hail on the cell behind it. Still, my goodness. What will happen with that? I don't know. No warning on it right now. I think that makes sense too, but it's something to watch. And again, just some off and on showers and thunder showers. Much needed rain in northwest Arkansas. Run of the mill stuff in NWA. Not anything to be worried about in northwest Arkansas. It is funny when you look at this without the size of the cell north of it, much larger, and then the one that's actually got the tornado warning, just shell of its former self at the moment, but still has that tornado warning on it, and still has a little bit of circulation with it. I haven't seen any increase, which is good. Not seeing any strengthening. If we look up a little bit higher up in the storm, let's see what it shows. Well, that meso's maybe actually, that's interesting. The meso actually looks a little bit better organized. Go back in time a little bit here. It had lost some of that organization right around there, just as it passed Mansfield, whereas before it had a bit more. So that meso looked pretty impressive about an hour ago. We can see that change in wind direction very clear. And then over time, still was okay as it came into southern Sebastian County, but then kind of lost some of that structure. And now it looks like it's trying to come back again. So again, these cells, even though they shrink in size sometimes, they can cycle and come back, maybe not stronger, but still with the same level of concern they once they once had. So, yeah. Well, and a lot of times it starts at the top and it works its way down. So if you're starting to see better organization farther up in the storm, then you become suspicious that you might eventually get that farther down. Now let's go back down to ground level, and not seeing significant changes here, but I don't know, maybe that's starting to come back. They may have to issue another tornado warning on this. I don't know. What's that?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm in conversation with the National
Oh,
Weather
you are?
Service.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Anything on Facebook Live? Anyone reporting any damage or?
Nope,
No? Okay.
not yet.
Well, we did have reports of damage from chasers earlier in that area. So in reports of a tornado on the ground, it looked pretty clear a tornado was on the ground. I'd be very surprised if that thing didn't have a tornado on the ground. I think it's fair to say there was that confirmed tornado was a solid report. Again, it's farther up. That is interesting. Yeah, it's really come back. Kind of weakened there for a little bit. And now it's kind of back again. And a little more condensed. Obviously, the storm itself is smaller than it once was, but it's maintaining its current. Yeah, I don't know. This thing, they may need another tornado warning on this thing. I don't know. It may be trying to produce again. Milltown, you're out of the threat now, so you're good to go. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier or not. But Milltown, you're good to go. Risk is over for you. Washburn, not just yet, but soon. If they do issue another tornado warning, and I don't know, we'll see, but if they were to, it would be something probably, along these lines right here is what I'm guessing. Anyway, it would kind of look like. Certainly seems fair that it'd be, and so the Colksville area, Brownsville area, you may be in that. If another warning were issued, you may be in that warning. Chisholmville as well, Branch, so southern Franklin County, and then kind of the northwest quadrant of Logan County, if National Weather Service deems it's necessary, and we'll see. If anything, it's becoming better organized. I don't know if this thing's done. And that rotation's becoming better organized. Are they saying anything about that?
Just waiting for their response. Yep, they're also taking note of it coming back again.
Yeah, okay.
So it looks like they may be coordinating with the Little Rock National Weather Service as far as extending that tornado warning.
That is bizarre right there. I've never seen it's like 4 black pixels right there. Right in the vicinity of the rotation. I don't know what that's about, but I don't like seeing that. I don't like seeing that. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, if they're coordinating with Little Rock, then they're probably strongly considering issuing another tornado warning.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's basically what the message was?
Yeah, basically it sounds like that's their intentions.
Okay.
And they're seeing wall clouds on social media with that stuff.
Oh, they are?
Yep.
Okay. Anything on our Facebook Live?
No,
Just on
their
yeah,
end.
just Twitter and just seeing, okay, yeah. If I pull up, let's see here.
All right, looks like they just extended that warning.
There it is, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Tulsa went first. Little Rock's trying to kind of mimic that, and so what Little Rock's going to probably try to do is probably something I have to believe like that, maybe like that, I guess. So we'll see, but it should look something like that anyway. Once Little Rock kind of gets theirs put together. There's the increase in Ville values.
Yeah, this thing may not be done. Oh.
Still moving northeast at 30 miles per hour.
Okay. All right, well, let's reset here. If you are just now joining us, and you said 30...
About 30 miles per hour, yep.
30, okay. If you're just now joining us, we do have a tornado warned storm right now on radar. Let's step back over the green screen. And we've got a new tornado warning that has been issued. There it is. All right, so that's pretty much exactly what we expected right there. And this new tornado warning goes until 10:15. Make sure that they got the same time. They did. All right, so 10:15 for this kind of northwest quadrant of Logan County and southern Franklin County till 10:15. So we'll just continue to watch that. And again, you know, after this kind of section right here, this eastern section of these storms shifts east outside the viewing area, that should be it for severe weather. We're confident at this point that we're not going to see any additional severe storms in Benton and Washington County. Pretty confident of that. Madison County, Carroll County still has some intense stuff right here. Not warned, but you know we'll keep an eye on it. But certainly, as the southern part of the line exits, we should be seeing kind of an end to that severe risk. So that's likely to occur right around 11 o'clock. Is kind of what we're thinking right now. Let's see here. Zoom back in. And pull up wind data once again. And all right, so Washburn, we're now in the clear. That's nice to see. Washburn, we are in the clear. Now, if you live just a little bit northeast of Washburn, and you're not really in Washburn, you're just kind of northeast of Washburn, you know, as we zoom in right here, you're kind of north of that area between, looks like, what is that? Was it, which? One second here. Okay, I was just checking on that. All right, but anyway, if you're north of Highway 10, between Washburn and Boonville, you're still kind of in that threat. But if you're in Washburn itself, you're kind of outside the threat now. The area of concern is really right in through here, and not entirely convinced we're seeing debris getting lofted up by the radar, but certainly still seeing fairly significant spin up with this storm on the whole. Good news is the storm behind it has weakened significantly as it's coming to Hartford. Hartford certainly did not need any more severe weather, that's for sure. So nice to see that it's kind of calmed down. And all these little cells out here south of Sallisaw, around Keota, you know, they're going to drop some really intense rain for a brief period of time. And, you know, there'll be a little bit of lightning, that kind of thing. But it's not any sort of legitimate, actual risk other than random lightning and heavy downpours.
Farther north, over Huntsville, pretty intense batch of rain, some intense rain occasionally along I-49. I have to wonder if that's caused any issues on the interstate. Did have an accident earlier around the Bella Vista bypass, but not seeing any serious issues now along I-49, so that's good. And then you can see between Mulberry and Bidville, Fern area of Franklin County, pretty intense stuff, but really heavy rain mainly, some lightning, probably some gusty winds occasionally, but no tornado risk in there. Only tornado risk continues to be with this storm that, while not as impressive as earlier this evening, still concerning. And seeing a sharp uptick in that VIL that we were talking about earlier, that vertically integrated liquid, sharp uptick. And a little bit more circulation at ground level. And again, when you look up farther, higher up in the atmosphere, really very clear. That's interesting. That must be an older image. That's what's got to be. Yeah, that's an older image, I think. Why it does that. Because it wouldn't tilt to the southwest anyway. It would tilt to the northeast. Still an impressive looking storm. All right, so next up, the Colksville area branch, Chisholmville. You're kind of next up for that concern. We can see this storm is kind of moving off to the northeast.
National Weather Service is taking note of that stronger circulation just south of Charleston.
Okay. Still at 30?
Yes.
Okay. So 30 miles per hour. Branch in your vicinity at 9:47, so about 12 minutes. And Colksville area, it could be somewhere between Branch and Colksville. We'll see, but 9:54. Let's see if we can throw a few more towns on there. We can. Ratcliffe, 9:53. Peter Pender, 9:54. Etna, 10:01. Meg, 10:02. Meg may end up being a little bit more north. Etna may be more in the path of this thing. That area between Branch and Coxville over to Etna. But last time it ended up being a little bit farther north than expected, so I don't know. We'll have to watch out in Meg too. But bottom line is, Branch, you're kind of up next here in terms of the towns that are really directly in the path. I do think if you're in Brownsville, you're okay. This is gonna stay north of Brownsville in Logan County. Chisholmville, you're a lot closer, or well, you're a little closer. Obviously, there's not that much of a distance, but you're closer. If you're in Chisholmville, you're probably 1 second here.
I got a report that sirens are going off in Branch.
Okay,
that's good.
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right, good. Yeah, Colksville area over to Branch. We need to be getting into our safe spot. We got about 10, 12 minutes before it's on basically overhead. So we got a little bit of time, but not a lot. Chisholmville, it does look like it's gonna stay north of you for the most part. But if you're we're talking a mile. If you're just a mile up to Highway 217, closer to the Franklin-Logan County border, you're right there. All right, you're right where that circulation is, and you need to be in your safe spot right now. But if you're much at all south of Chisholmville and closer to Brownsville, you're not in that risk. But in Chisholmville, you might get in that safe spot just to be safe. I think that's a good idea. All right. But, still not the same sort of clear tornado situation we had earlier, which, that's why we don't have a confirmed tornado warning, right? Because of that. Put this back in motion. Let's just go for the last 30 minutes. And William, any updates you've got, just for a second, I'm going to take a drink of water. If you have anything, William.
Oh,
Yeah.
not on my end yet. I mean, it looks like that circulation south of Charleston is still maintaining itself. So I like that the sirens are going off in Branch for people to, take precautions now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not every area has sirens. They're not everywhere. But Branch and Coxville right there, looks like especially the area just between Branch and Coxville along Highway 22, we want to get in that safe spot. Still a dangerous storm. And you see the lightning starting to pick back up. Now we've got 5 lightning strikes.
5, yep.
Not as many as we've seen, and probably more than that. A lot of times the radar will underestimate the number of lightning strikes, but not always. But I think in this case it probably is. But anything? Are you seeing anything from the Facebook Live? Anything of interest?
No, I would say I think the storm is slowing down south of Charleston, now moving northeast at 25 miles per hour.
Oh, is it?
Just a little bit, yep, just a little bit slower.
Okay. All right. That's not, I don't know that that's necessarily, the fact that it's slowing down isn't necessarily indicative of anything. It just kind of, that'll happen from time to time. Oh, do you have anything else?
Yeah, no, and the National Weather Service is also saying that the tornado potential with this is still very much up with the increasing low-level spin that we're seeing here.
Okay.
So they're watching this very closely.
Yeah, they're seeing an increase.
Saying this is the strongest they've seen in a while.
Okay. All right. So that says a lot, folks. That says a lot. Still no clear debris signature. I don't think we could say there's a clear debris signature. Really, a clear debris signature. Basically, what we would see is over time, within the area of red and yellow and orange and all that, but within this area, within here, okay, over time, if we did have a clear debris signature somewhere within those kind of brighter colors, we would see things begin to darken a little bit to a yellow, green, then blue. Everything outside of it, that's not a clear debris signature. And over time, we haven't seen a lot of dips within that area of red. Now, we see a little bit of a dip here, but when you look at where that is relative to the storm, that's clearly hail, because that's falling within the section of the storm where you would expect to see hail. So that's the radar just seeing hail. That's why you get that dip, but we're not seeing a dip elsewhere. So I don't see anywhere with that tool, the correlation coefficient tool that we have, I don't see that it's lofting debris in the atmosphere. That's pretty clear. That's fairly clear. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it. But even if it doesn't have a tornado on the ground right now, it's still capable. Still capable. We've seen a little bit of an uptick in that potential, as William was telling us about earlier. All right. So, yeah.
So I think they've just canceled, I'm just reading it really quickly.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit
tornado warning for...
Yeah, they're shaving it. They're shaving it off. So no part of Sebastian County is in the tornado warning anymore.
Yep, for East Central Sebastian.
Yeah. Branch, this is right over the top of you right now. Let's stay in that safe spot. Chisholmville again, it looks like it's going to be just to your north, so you're probably okay. But just north of Chisholmville, we're not. In that area between Branch and Coxville, we need to be in that safe spot. There's no clear tornado on the ground right now, but could change in an instant. Let's just get in that safe spot and ride things out. If you're in this area kind of to the west of Chisholmville, kind of near that where Sebastian County, Franklin, and Logan County all meet up, that's an area where you're in the clear. You can get out. You can come out of your safe spot if that's where you were at. A lot of additional lightning. Yeah, that's a good question right there. Because I'm not seeing anything, William. I like the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
All right.
just so everyone's aware, my mic just died. I'm going to get a new battery for the mic, and William's going to take over for a second.
All right, so like we've been tracking this storm southeast of Charleston. Still no signs of debris or any sense of a confirmed tornado. But let's see, the National Weather Service, like I said, has canceled the tornado warning for East Central Sebastian County. They're also saying that they saw a little bit of a drop in that correlation coefficient. Again, maybe signs
Just now?
of debris.
Oh, I see what they're talking about.
But they're not saying it seems enough.
Yeah, it's not, maybe not
So-
enough. I see what they're talking about. But
So let's go to that.
there, okay, Mike seems to be, there we go. Mike seems to be turned on. I see what they're talking about there. But,
And they're still saying, looks like the low-level circulation is still rather weak.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's debris,
Yeah.
but.
Still a pretty good tight notch there.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. That's tough. That's tough.
Let me play this out. If it's, looks like it's weakening, maybe weakening just ever so slightly.
Yeah. Here, let me throw in a new
I
battery.
can hear you, Darby.
I'm going to throw a new battery for the IFB.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, once again, the storm is tracking just south of Branch, moving to the northeast around 25 to 30 miles per hour.
Yeah. There we go. I'm not sure why it looked so funky there for a second. All right. And if you can hear the rain's coming down pretty heavy right over the TV station, we're in Rogers here, and so you can see why. We got a lot of heavy rain overhead. Much needed. Really good to have it. Nothing severe in there. Not any real big, serious, flooding risk or anything like that. So Just some good, healthy rains. Exactly what we like to see. Oh, you responded to them through my, yeah.
I figured I'd include you, Darby.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, like you talked about, Darby, the threat for severe weather across northwest Arkansas is certainly lessening. So the National Weather Service has dropped the tornado watch for Benton, Crawford, and Washington counties. So that's good news. Carroll and Madison are still in the watch, though.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. Boy, that's such a tough call. Gosh, that's such a tough call.
Let's see. Sirens are going off in Ozark. Ozark, Webb City.
They're going off where again?
Ozark, Webb City, and now Paris.
And Webb City and Paris. Okay,
Yeah.
well now Paris is barely on the...
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is important to point out. You know, they issue these warnings and they have to keep them fairly broad because sometimes these storms will take a turn off to the east, sometimes more off to the north. We've seen a little bit of that today. If this storm were to take more of a turn to the east, you know, and it could, then maybe it gets close to Paris, but that seems unlikely. Gray Rock, that's a different story. Just a tiny little jog to the east, and Gray Rock's absolutely in the path of this. Tiny bit of a jog more to the north, and Etna's more in the path. That'll take more of a jog to the north. So the area that seems that I would be most worried about is kind of this right here. That's really the area. So if you really want to narrow it down within the tornado warning itself, then that's the area that, for my money, as the storm progresses, the actual tornado threat's really going to be close, more in that smaller section. But you got to understand, the National Weather Service really needs to issue these warnings a little bit bigger. They don't want to cover too much space. They don't want to cover too many folks who are really outside the threat for obvious reasons. But they've got to keep it broad because these storms can move, take jogs a little bit to one side or the other. And so when the warning initially gets issued, it's a little bit broader. And then as you go through time, it's like, oh, well, obviously. No, not obviously. Nothing's obvious about any of this. So that's kind of why the warning's, a little bit
larger here. There's a lot. So like, for example, in Peter Pender, we don't have a serious risk. The areas that are within a serious risk, those that we're going to mention those towns. Those are the towns. If we don't mention your town, then you're probably not really within that serious risk. That's kind of how we play the game here. But Coxville, this is coming into town right here. Right now, and it may have, we're seeing more lightning here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the most lightning strikes that we've seen. And so, yeah, that gate to gate's come up a little bit. It may have a tornado on the ground now. I'm not convinced we're seeing debris yet, because again, what I really want to see is I want to see a dip in values within these brighter colors. That's where I want to see the dip in values. Okay? We want to see it in here. Well, let's more specifically where we should see it is right in here. Okay? But we want to see the drop from within that area of red. That's where we want to see it. And we're not seeing that right now anyway. But boy, the circulation has gone up a little bit around Coxville. Let's be in our safe spot in Coxville right now. Okay, things have upticked. We've seen an increase in intensity of this storm, no question about it. It's gotten stronger. The winds aloft became more organized. Really, we saw the winds aloft becoming more organized first, and then it feels like we saw the uptick in Ville. Now we're seeing the uptick in lightning. Everything's on the way up, so the cycle has basically been completed. It's still not the same storm it was before, a much larger storm. It hasn't necessarily got to that size again, and it never will, I don't think. It's always going to be a little bit smaller of a cell. But everything else is right back up close to where it was before. Now it's trying to produce a tornado again. That's what I think we're seeing right now.
Yep, and they're going to continue that tornado warning in southeast Franklin County per the National Weather Service.
That makes sense.
Still moving northeast at around 25 miles per hour, they're saying.
But I will say this, right now, if there is a tornado on the ground, it's more than likely technically in Logan County, and it's right around the Coxville area, okay? Though, I mean, the circulation is right on, I mean, really, the circulation is right on the Franklin.
Yeah, it may go back and
Logan
forth between
County.
Logan and Franklin.
Yeah, it probably will. I mean, it'll probably come into that very southeastern corner of Franklin County, and then
go back into Logan,
and then eventually Johnson. The far southwest corner of Johnson. It's just in that awkward spot. It's an awkward spot because it's straddling county lines. It's also an awkward spot because, again, it's straddling the line between the area covered by the National Weather Service in Tulsa and the area covered by the National Weather Service in Little Rock. So it's an awkward kind of situation, and it can get confusing really quickly. But you got us to kind of explain it, so hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, it definitely still has that circulation. Again, where we want to see the dip in values, I'm still not seeing it, is right here within these brighter colors. Okay? And that follows, again, that's within this, like right there along the edge of the storm, even just a little ahead of it. Okay? And then the circulation is, basically right in here. Okay? A little bit of a circulation right there. But we don't get a dip there. We don't have a dip there. I don't think debris is getting spotted right now. So that's a good sign, but it's still rotating. It is still rotating. And again, now we've got what we call gate-to-gate wind shear. And this is the first time we've seen this right here. We've got a green pixel and a red pixel, okay?
So the green, that's toward the radar, red's away from the radar. So that is technically in Franklin County, right there in the southeastern quadrant of Franklin County. So I definitely take back what I said earlier about, I was making that judgment based off the fact that usually we'll see the tornado right here kind of on the tip of that hook. Well, the circulation we're seeing is actually in Franklin County. So look, without being able to see it in person, what we would say in this situation is, hey, everybody in the Coxville area right now, if you live a little bit north, a little bit northeast, if you live even just a touch south of Coxville, if you're a little bit farther east on Highway 22, not all the way to Carbon City just yet, but again, if it takes a jog to the east, maybe you'll have concerns there. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll stay north of Carbon City, and it'll stay north of Paris, and we'll see about Gray Rock. But anywhere in the Coxville area, let's be in that safe spot. Peter Pender, you're in the tornado warning, but you don't need to be in your safe spot right now. You just need to be indoors. You don't have a risk of a tornado at the moment. That circulation is right in through here, okay? Or I guess more broadly, right in through here. So here's another update from folks in Sebastian County. Got some roads flooded. West Hartford Road and Pitchford Road. This is around the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line, near the Apex community where we had that tornado risk earlier. So we are getting some flooding there in South Sebastian County. Just had another storm roll through, so that just kind of added to the issues. And so those low water bridges, you don't want to be driving over those, and you stay out of all that. That may be a little bit of a drop.
Yes.
That may be a little bit of a drop. That's hard, super hard to tell. It's right on the edge, but that may be something there. Still an impressive looking cell. Small, but mighty, right? Other cells behind it, I got some lightning with this one around Muldrow. I don't think any of this is going to go severe. The one to the north of the tornado-warned storm still has a bunch of lightning. Cell up in Carroll County, it's got a little lightning, maybe some stronger winds. That's a cell that maybe could get warned, severe thunderstorm warning with it at some point. We've got a much stronger cell out here toward Chandler, but that's not going to hold together as it approaches the area, so we don't have to worry about that. Still this one cell that's still trying to spin up a tornado every once in a while. Okay, here's another update from the National Weather Service. Little change in the environment ahead of this storm. So no reason to see an increase or in intensity, and maybe not much reason to see much of a decrease. It may just kind of meander forward. I don't know. We've seen a drop again in the VIL values, which is good, but
We saw that earlier, and then it came back up again. Usually the second drop is indicative of maybe the beginning of the end of a storm like this, but not always. Current tornado warning goes till 10:15. Still a dangerous storm. If they were to issue another tornado warning, it would be for the Coal Hill area, but judging by what we're seeing right now, we're definitely not convinced that they will. See, as we put this in motion without the warning data on it and taking that off, not as much lightning anymore. In fact, in the last volume scan, no lightning. So that's good to see. That's really good to see. But we still have the tornado warning. If we look at there's that circulation still going. And still not seeing clear evidence of a legitimate drop in correlation coefficient values, debris signature, not seeing that. Go up in the atmosphere, see what this thing looks like there.
Do you have your email up, Darby?
I can pull it up.
We got a picture from the viewer
Really?
of
Okay.
maybe
1 second here. I was just taking a look at, tilting the camera up or the radar up a little bit. You can see how 30 minutes ago, we had seen right there a little bit of an increase in the rotation aloft, and then we started to get worried again. And then it's kind of decreased, really decreased. Yeah, the mesocyclone with this storm, looking up at about 14,000 feet over Etna, so the kind of lower part of the mesocyclone, low to middle part of the mesocyclone, definitely seeing a decrease in spin there. That's good. Remember when we saw the increase at the very beginning, and then the second time we saw the increase, we saw an increase in the low-level rotation with time too. So when we see the decrease aloft, we should shortly after that see the decrease farther down. We're also seeing the decrease in lightning. So now we're seeing things cycle back down. That's a lot of good signs there. Come back down to the surface. It still has that rotation, that low-level rotation, and a little bit of gate-to-gate. Not a lot. It's not significant, though. I mean, if looking at the gate-to-gate wind shear here, we've got 18 miles outbound, and we've got 13 miles inbound. So that's about 31 miles per hour of total vorticity right there. That's really not significant. So it's something to watch, but that's your gate to gate, and it's there, and we haven't been able to say that, continuously over the last hour or so, but it's there. So still no clear debris signature. Yeah. But still an impressive looking storm. There's a lightning strike right there. I mean, it's still chugging along. The tornado warning will expire in 8 minutes. Have they said anything about what they may do with it? I mean, I just saw what Steve posted there. It doesn't look like there's...
No, not in addition to that.
No. Now, email. Let me see if I can pull this up. So you emailed the picture?
Yes, there's a picture. You should have just received it from one of our producers.
Okay, sometimes it takes a little bit of time.
to show up in my inbox, but we'll see. And I did get an update from our chaser, Brandon Alexander, that was our chaser that we, that I talk with and follow along with. See if I can read that out. Take a look at that here in a minute. But all right, so here's the pictures. Okay, Hodgen. So that's very near. Yeah, Hodgen area is the area that got hit. Oh man.
South of Heavener.
Let's see if we can pull this up. It's and we're getting the usual angry emails about being on the air for tornado warnings. But again, folks, we've got to do that. We've got to be on the air. It's one of the most important things we do, even though these storms aren't affecting everybody. The people who are getting affected are very appreciative. So here's that picture. I don't know. I mean, is that a tornado? Is it just a wall? It looks like a clear wall cloud for sure. But is it a tornado? I don't know. That's not an easy, because there's some rain kind of wrapping around it. I don't know.
Tornado warning has been issued in eastern Carroll County. Pretty good.
Really?
Pretty tight coupling.
Oh my goodness.
Just check it out.
Oh my goodness. The lightning is upticked on that here too. Now, let's take a look at this. Yeah, oh wow. That just popped up out of nowhere. It was a storm we were mentioning earlier as being intense, but that is...
Moving northeast at 30 miles per hour.
Wow. Okay. Look at that. Just out of nowhere. Boom. So this is around Connor, Gobbler area. Moving. So in Connor and Gobbler, let's get in that safe spot. Carrollton, Alpena, too. This looks like it's moving a little bit faster, too. Is it? What speed?
They said 30.
Oh, okay. But now, look at that gate-to-gate wind shear right there. This one's... Let's pull up our Springfield radar too, and it's showing the same significant rotation with it. So that's probably got. It may not have a tornado on the ground yet, but it's trying to produce one. Not seeing any dip in CC values yet, but over time, that we may pick up on that. So yeah, look right up Highway 412 between. Osage and Alpena. All right, this thing's moving right toward Carrollton. Carrollton, let's take shelter right now. Alpena as well. All right, Hugh area, so where Highway 62 and 412 meet at Alpena, that's going to be an area we need to get into our safe spot as well. So Alpena, Carrollton, let's get in that safe spot. And we'll come back to that. Roseville area, this is right over the top of you now. And again, still not getting clear debris. Looks like we got some new information from Steve.
The storm in Carroll County is certainly catching a lot of attention right now.
Yeah, probability for a tornado dropping is just jumped big time. And we just, from Rick Covert, the emergency manager for Franklin County, he says he's got a spotter south of the storm in the Roseville area. He says he's tracking a little bit of a lowering, a wall cloud there, that makes sense. I would suspect there is a wall cloud with this. Most wall clouds never produce tornadoes, but, you know, if there's going to be a tornado, there's usually a wall cloud first. So yeah, coming toward this area around, you know, Greenwood and coming toward Coal Hill and those areas, and Alex perhaps as well. So that is that's certainly good information right there. There still is clear rotation in that area. Let's go back to the Carroll County. Okay, this is a positive sign. The National Weather Service in Tulsa and in Little Rock have coordinated a new severe thunderstorm warning. Now, is that tornado tagged? It doesn't look like it. Take a close look at that. See if they mention tornado possible.
Tornado possible, that's it.
They've got that in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just it's possible.
I'm just not seeing it here.
The very bottom.
Very bottom, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tornado possible. Okay, so it's got the tornado tag, but that's good because what they're basically at a juncture now with the storm at Roseville coming into Johnson County where they think, okay, this thing's definitely not got the same potential to produce a tornado as it had earlier. We're not going to issue a new tornado warning. Instead, we're going to issue a new severe thunderstorm warning with the tag in there saying it could try to develop a tornado at some point. And if it does, then they'll change it back over to a tornado warning. It just kind of gives you the idea that, okay, well, we're still watching for a tornado, but at the moment we think it's less of a tornado concern, maybe more of a hail. Strong winds. But let's go back up to the storm in Carroll County.